All right. Chapter 2 review. And I don't know why, but the review problems don't have answers in the back. So you're just going to have to trust me, even though I might be wrong. We are going to do 1, 4 through 4 and 5, 7 and 9 through 12. Number 1. The Federal Bureau of Investigation reports state level and national data on crimes. An investigator compares the incident of crime in Minnesota and in Michigan. In 2001, there were 3,500 crimes in Minnesota. See what I did there? I rounded. We're going to do a lot of that. Compared to about 4,000 in Michigan. He concludes that Minnesotans are more law-abiding. After all, Michigan includes the big back city of Detroit. What do you say? Can we compare those two numbers? No, why not? Because it's just a total. Okay, why might there be more crimes in Michigan total? Because there are more people in Michigan. So instead of comparing totals, what should we compare? Averages or rates. Okay. B, an investigator compares the incident of crime in the U.S. in 91 and 01. In 91, there were 2,800 crimes compared to 2,200 in 2001. She concludes that the U.S. became more law-abiding over that time period. What do you say? Okay, yeah. What happened to the population between 91 and 01? It went up. So does it tend to look like things got better? And there could be a lot of reasons. A change in the definition of crimes. Sometimes, and this is no joke, sometimes a crime becomes so common that we stop enforcing it. Right? Like speeding or jaywalking or, and sometimes we change the definition of a crime, which can alter the numbers in the future. Okay. Now, we're not sure if any of that happened. It might have happened, but just looking at the numbers, if population goes up and crimes go down, we would think things have gotten better, right? But we don't know for sure. That's just kind of an estimate. All right, number 4. The Public Health Service studied the effects of smoking on health in a large sample of representative households. For men and for women in each age group, those who had never smoked were on average somewhat healthier than the current smokers, but the current smokers were on average much healthier than those who had recently stopped smoking. Okay, so let me say that again. Non-smokers, healthy. Quitted smokers, is that a word? Quitted smokers were less healthy than those who were still smoking. So A, why did they study men and women and the different age groups separately? We want to eliminate confounding factors, right? If you look at 80-year-old men who smoke compared to 20-year-old women who smoke, is there going to be a health difference? Yeah, huge health difference. So if you can categorize them and look at them in categories, that can eliminate some of the confounding factors. Okay? The lesson seems to be that you shouldn't start smoking, but once you've started, don't stop. True or false? False. What's the confounding variable? Maybe. That might be it. Okay, that's one way. I didn't think of that one, so good. So in order of health, 1, 2, 3. Non-smokers were the best. Here we go. Quitted smokers were next, and current smokers were last. Or did I do that? Did I do that right? Oh, sorry. That didn't make sense. Current and quitted. Why? Maybe. There's a really obvious reason. Keldon? uh, no. Who's going to stop smoking? The people who it's killing, right? Okay. How, who is in this group? People who just started, right? Are they going to be unhealthy? Well, they'll be less healthy than the people who never started, right? But if smoking doesn't appear to affect your health, are you going to quit? Not as much. But if the doctor says, if you don't quit, you'll be dead in 6 months. Right. So it's looking at it's looking at each age group separately. So for instance, 40-year-old women. The most healthy group are 40-year-old women or are women who never started. Okay? But the women who recently stopped smoking are the least healthy in that group. Why? Because the doctor told them if you don't stop, you're going to die. But a 40-year-old woman who just started smoking, she's going to be more healthy than the one who's been smoking for 20 years. And the woman who smoking doesn't appear to affect very much has no reason to quit. Does that make sense? So this comes down to, did people put themselves in their own categories? Yes. And that's always a problem. Okay. What was that, 4? So 5, there is a rare neurological disease, idiopathic hypoglycemia, that will be on the test, that makes food taste bad. It is sometimes treated with zinc sulfate. One group of investigators did 2 randomized controlled experiments to test this treatment. So we're going to assume they did it right. Randomized, that's a good thing. Controlled, that's a good thing. In the first trial, the subjects did not know whether they were being given the zinc sulfate or a placebo. Is that good? What do we call that? Double blind. However, the doctors doing the evaluation did know, so it's not double blind, it's single blind. Patients didn't know, doctors did know. In this trial, patients on zinc sulfate improved significantly. The placebo showed little improvement, which is good, right? That's what you want. The second trial was run double blind. Neither the subjects nor the doctors doing the evaluation were told who had been given the drug or the placebo. In the second trial, zinc sulfate had no effect. Weird. So when the doctors knew, the drug worked really well. When the doctors didn't know, the drug didn't work at all. Okay, so should zinc sulfate be given to test to treat the disease? No. Why? So Parker makes a really good observation. If the placebo works just because the doctors know which is which, then you would think that would be okay. But you have to remember that the other people aren't going to be in a study, and they're going to be given actual drugs or non-drugs, and that placebo doesn't transfer from experiment to practice very well. Does that make sense? But I have heard stories of, for instance, a woman that had IBS, which is a terrible disease. Um, it's a intestinal problem. It makes for a lot of crappy days. So um, they had this drug, and they were doing an experiment, and this lady got the drug or the placebo. She didn't know, and it cured her IBS completely. At the end of the study, she was told, guess what? You got a sugar pill. And she said, but it fixed me. And they said, well, that's the placebo effect. And she got sick again. So she went to her pharmacist and said, give me a sugar pill. And he's like, do you know what a sugar pill is? She said, yes. It doesn't have anything in it. He's like, why do you want it? And she said, because sugar pills cure my IBS. And he said, no, that doesn't work that way. And she said, you tell me that this pill will cure my IBS and I will take it. He's like, fine. This pill will cure your IBS. Gave her a sugar pill, disease went away. And she was in complete remission for several years, and she took a sugar pill every single day. Now, that doesn't happen very often, but the power of the mind is crazy. But the FDA will not let you sell a fake pill, right? It just doesn't work. And what happens with a placebo in an experiment is different because you're not sure which one you're actually getting. So, anyway, so no, if the double-blind study shows no difference, then it's not going to have any effect. And what that means is, in the double-blind, the actual medication and the placebo worked at the same rate, which means it was just the placebo effect. So those people just need therapy. They don't need, right? I don't know. Okay, 7. According to a study done at Kaiser Permanente in Walnut Creek, California, users of oral contraceptives, what's contraceptives? Birth control. So people on oral birth control, the pill, have a higher rate of cervical cancer than non-users, even adjusting for age, education, and marital status. So if you look at all of this and you divide it up in every possible way, the people on the pill have more cervical cancer than those who don't take it. So, is this a controlled experiment or an observational study? Observation. Why did the investigators adjust for age, education, and marital status? To try to remove confounding factors, confounding variables. Women using the pill were likely to differ from non-users on another factor which affects the risk of cervical cancer. What factor is that? If you have a lot of sexual partners, you're probably on the pill, right? And were the conclusions of the study justified by the data? No. Nope. Cervical cancer is caused by a virus, and it's that simple. Okay, 9. People who get lots of vitamins by eating 5 or more servings of fresh fruit and vegetables each day have much lower death rates from colon cancer and lung cancer, according to many observational studies. These studies were so encouraging that 2 randomized controlled experiments were done. The treatment groups were given large doses of vitamin supplements, while people in the control groups just ate their usual diet. One experiment looked at colon cancer, the other at lung cancer. The first experiment found no difference in the death rate from colon cancer between the treatment group and the control. The second experiment found that beta-carotene, which is in carrots, increased the death rate for lung cancer. True or false, and explain. The experiment confirmed the results of the observational studies. Did the experiment say the same thing that the observations said, that vegetables make you live longer? Or sorry, vitamins make you live longer? No. People eating the vegetables lived longer. People who only got the vitamins didn't. So no. The observational study could easily have reached the wrong conclusion due to confounding. People who eat lots of fruits and vegetables have lifestyles that are different in many other ways too. Right? People who are really conscious about what they eat probably are also not doing things that make you unhealthy. Right? Okay, and C, the experiments could easily have reached the wrong conclusions due to confounding. People who eat lots of fruits and vegetables have lifestyles that are different in many other ways too. Okay. That's not a question. Oh, true or false. Sorry. So A is false, B is true, and C is true. Okay, number 10. A study of young children found that those with more body fat tended to have more controlling mothers. Ooh. If your parents control your life, you're more likely to be overweight. Was this an observational study or a controlled experiment? Observation. Could we experiment on this? Probably not. Go tell a bunch of moms, control every aspect of your kid's life, and we're going to see if they get fat. Okay, no, not a good idea. D, did the study find an association between mother's behavior and her child's level of body fat? Yes. If controlling behaviors by the mother causes children to eat more, Would that explain an association between controlling behavior by the mother and the child's level of body fat? Yeah, because that's not a confounding factor. That's A causes B, which causes C. So there's a difference. There's a difference between A causing B causing C and A causing C when in reality B causes C. Do you see how that's confounding? So this one is not confounded, but this one is. All right, suppose there is a gene which causes obesity. Would that explain the association? Well, maybe that gene also tends to make mothers more controlling. So that would be confounding. The controlling does not cause obesity. The gene causes both controlling and obesity. So that would be yes. Can you think of another way to explain this association? What else might be causing these children to be overweight? Well, stress eating would be A causes B causes C, right? Okay, maybe controlling mothers buy lots of snacks. Okay, maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe in a specific part of the country, mothers are more controlling, and that part of the country is just naturally more overweight. There could be a lot of reasons. And do the data support the Chronicle's advice on child rearing? No, it's an observation. There are way too many things to consider. All right, we only have a couple minutes left. Do you want me to do 11 or 12? 12. A study is carried out to determine the effect of party affiliation on voter behavior in a certain city. The city is divided into 2 wards. In each ward, the percentage of registered Democrats who vote is higher than the percentage of registered Republicans who vote. True or false? For the city as a whole, the percent of registered Democrats who vote must be higher than the percentage of Republicans. True or false? So we have 2 parts of the city. Okay? Here are Democrats on one side and Republicans on the other. Okay. The city is divided in 2 wards, higher than Republicans. And in the other ward, what do we have? The same thing. More Democrats than Republicans. Are we safe to say that more people vote Democrat in that city? Yes, even though we don't know the percentages. That is true. What if I switch this? Now can we say more Democrats vote? Nope. 3 different things could happen here. We could either have more Democrats or more Republicans or the same. Okay? All right, I'll keep going on 11 as far as I can until the bell rings. California is evaluating a new program to rehabilitate prisoners before they're released. The object is to reduce the recidivism, how often they come back to prison. That's what recidivism means. The program involves several months of boot camp, a military-style basic training with very strict discipline. Admission to the program is voluntary. According to a prison spokesman, those who complete boot camp are less likely to return to prison than other inmates. Those who come to boot camp don't come back to prison as often. What is the treatment and the control? Boot camp is treatment. Control would be just open the door and let them out like normal. Okay? Is the prison spokesman's comparison based on an observational study or randomized controlled experiment? It's kind of in the middle, right? It's a randomized controlled experiment, but it's not really random. Right? Why is it not random? Voluntary. Okay? True or false? The data show the boot camp worked. False. Why? Who enrolls in the boot camp? And which group of people is more likely to volunteer for boot camp? Those who never want to return to prison. right? So it was a controlled experiment. It just wasn't randomized. And that non-randomization is probably a confounding variable. Okay. Yeah, hand them in. Make sure you hand them in separately.